Hello, and welcome to the 34th episode of the Select Characters podcast. We're back. We are well rested. We are prepared from our break. It's been 2 weeks. I know you've missed us. We've missed all of you. And we have basically the only podcast in the universe with 4 very specific people on it. Those people are myself, Sam Yates, your host, Ryan Dildine.
Hello.
Christopher Anderson.
Hi.
And rounding out the mix, Enrique Cancel the Wild Card.
That's an oddly specific segment there.
Yeah, it is. But we're back. We're ready to get back into this thing, and let's do it. Let's cruise right into what we've been playing. And it has been an excellent 2 weeks and holiday season and Steam sale for video games. So let's talk a little bit about what we've been playing. Let's start with Ryan.
Well, I only played a lot of about 3 games. First one I picked up. Actually, I didn't pick it up. Somebody bought it for me. It was Depth. And that's for people who haven't played that game. It's basically an escort mission. The entire game. You have like a sea submersible goes down in the water. There's 4 divers and there's 2 sharks, and the divers have to protect. It's like an escort, so you're protecting the submersible from the sharks, and the sharks' goal is to kill all the survivors, kill all the scuba divers. But the scuba divers and the sharks both have points, so I think they have 20 lives each. And so whoever gets the other to 0 fastest, or the escort mission ends and you're safe, wins the game. And I kind of hate escort missions in other games, but this game is really, really fun, especially when you're playing with like a full room of people on TeamSpeak and everyone can just talk to each other.
Yeah.
So the thing moves like automatically?
Yes, so it'll it's just like an escort mission in an MMO. Like it'll go really slow and stop at some point to do something arbitrary. Science. And then it starts swimming away again. And you have to just follow it. And it takes you into different locations. Like you'll be in a shipwreck, and then you'll kind of be in open water, and then you'll be in like a bunch of different caves and that kind of thing. So the map changes, and there's just different settings that you have to put up with, like while you're trying to stay alive.
Yeah, the game is pretty atmospheric, actually. I got it as well, and I was surprised that it wasn't as scary as I thought that it would be.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah, exactly. And playing as the sharks, especially, is so much fun because you can jam yourself through holes in the wall and stuff, or you can just break walls entirely.
Yeah.
And grab divers between your teeth, and then you have to shake your mouse violently to rip them apart, which is great fun. It is great fun.
Yeah, and the cool part is it's like you're saying, it's not scary because I found myself laughing more than I found myself like being startled by the sharks, because when you are swimming around, you hear your heartbeat when the sharks come, and heartbeat gets faster and faster the closer they get, and so you know they're coming for you, and you're like looking around everywhere, and then all of a sudden you just get grabbed by a shark and taken off, and it's like, man, how did that even happen? Because you have flashlights and you can see all over the place, but there's some people who are really good at staying hidden.
Yeah.
And
how's the balancing in the game?
Way better than me.
How's the balancing between, I guess, like the divers and the shark?
I'd say it's pretty good. I never felt like it was really unbalanced. When I was playing diver, I thought it would be a lot easier to play as a shark, but it's actually pretty hard. I'd say some of the weapons aren't super balanced, but I don't know, because there's like a weapon on the scuba diver side where it's basically like a harpoon shotgun.
Yeah,
and it just one hits the sharks if you hit them, and that's kind of annoying, you know. But the sharks also have their own set of skills that you can upgrade, and I didn't really get to explore it a ton because I didn't play as a shark that much. But I guess it does kind of balance out the scuba divers' weapons because it's so hard for the divers to see you.
Yeah.
So I'd say it's decently balanced right now.
Yeah, the sharks, they can see the other divers through walls and stuff, so you can sort of coordinate your attack because there's only 2 of you versus 4 of them.
Okay.
So I never really got the feeling that, like, but it is unbalanced in that it's asymmetrical, but both sides have enough tools to take on each other, really. So I never really thought that one side got an easier win than the other.
Yeah, I think when the only times like where we got smashed, it's because the other players were better, not because the game's imbalanced.
Yeah. So it's a great example of asymmetrical multiplayer done right, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Do they tell you why the sharks want to destroy this science vehicle?
They're sharks. Sharks
Yeah,
destroy
sharks.
stuff. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't pay that close attention to. I just hopped in and started playing.
Yeah, the game doesn't have any deep lore about why the sharks hate
that would just be like a really great opportunity to put something way ridiculous in there.
It's a deep race war.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
There's like a shark artifact of which is important to them in there.
See? Yeah, it's a great opportunity.
Yeah, so outside of depth, I played a little bit of Wolfenstein The New Order. Not a ton. I started playing it, and I thought I would really, really get into it, but it seemed a little too far-fetched for me.
Same here, man.
I do intend to play the whole game, but I don't know. After you get out, at the beginning you do that whole plane thing, and then when your plane crashes, you see those mechanical dogs.
Yeah.
And the game's... When is the game set? Is it...
It's the Second World War in no, it's not Second World War, isn't it? It's after the Second World War in a world where Germany has basically won the World War or something like that.
But isn't it like 1947 or something? It's right after World War II.
I'm not entirely sure on that.
I'm getting confused because I just watched a show about the same topic, and it was set in the 60s, so I can't remember. But anyways, yeah, the technology that the Nazis are supposed to have is really far-fetched. There's like giant mech warriors walking around, and I don't know. I didn't know how I felt about that. I'm still going to give it a go, but I don't know. I only got about 45 minutes into it.
Yeah, people kept telling me that game was really, really good, like a huge improvement over the last iteration in the franchise. But when I played it, apart from the weird mech type stuff, it was just a very generic shooter. At least it felt that way to me, so it didn't really grab my attention as much as I thought that it would.
Yeah, I totally agree. I thought I'd be way more into it.
Yeah. You can't win them all.
I'm gonna give it the benefit of the doubt and keep playing it.
Yeah,
so
I guess it's also been kind of a while since we had like what feels like, I guess I haven't played it either, but I mean I think like an old school kind of shooter.
I think
where you just go in and shoot people like that.
I think that's why it got so much praise when it first released, because it just took like that old school shooter formula and just polished it. So a lot of people were, I think from a lot of reviewers' standpoint, it was just really refreshing to see a really simple game where they actually took time to focus on the mechanics rather than throwing out a bunch of like really wacky, flimsy, unique things in it.
And
well, that's literally what they did. I mean, at one point you go to the moon, don't you? I mean, how wacky?
Well,
I
mean, in terms of like mechanics, it didn't try to give you some weird portal gun. It didn't try to create some kind of like weird.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
it's just a straight, go in, kill Nazis, do your thing.
Or I mean, in the face of all the realistic shooters that we've been getting, or realistic in sneer quotes, but I mean, it seems like a lot of shooters have been more focused towards that and not like Quake and Unreal.
Yeah, it hit like that Doom, sweet spot kind of where it went away from like the really super dark, gritty shooters that we get, and then like the really over the top, crazy, gimmicky things, and it gave you like a really simple, straightforward. I mean, it's not meant to be an experience where you really kind of like think about it, then go off and ponder about its merit to the gaming industry. It's a game that you should sit down and have fun and play.
Fun video games.
Who does that anymore?
After that, I picked up Sanctum, which is a game I've been wanting for about a year now, and I just never grabbed it. And I was very disappointed in it, and I played it for about 20 minutes and set it down. Is
that the tower defense one, where you set your blocks down and all that stuff? Yeah.
Yeah.
I bounced off that one too.
The kind of the unique thing about that game is you have the first-person perspective, but I don't know. I think I'd rather have either a tower defense or a first-person shooter. I don't want both. It made it kind of clunky to go back and forth between the two. It was lackluster for me.
When I played Sanctum, it immediately made me want to shut the game down, and I played Orcs Must Die instead.
Yeah,
I think that handled like that, because I guess like they were trying to go for like that weird cross-genre title, and just playing it, like you could see it had potential, but immediately like I thought of Orcs Must Die did this so much better.
Yep, I love Orcs Must Die.
Yeah.
I forgot about that game actually.
It's a good one.
Yeah. So that rounds it out for me. I mean, I played some older titles that I've been playing for a long time, but I think Depth was the winner for me out of this out of the Steam sale.
Yeah, it's a good game. Really, really fun.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Let's go to Chris next. Chris, what did you play? Yeah, give us the big
positively binged on games over the break. It was ridiculous. You had Christmas and people gave me games for Christmas. Then there was a Steam sale and I gave myself games for Christmas by the Steam sale. It's actually pretty ridiculous. I've been playing so many games, so I could just list them off if you like. Like I actually started up Steam to check out what I actually bought.
Let's see what we got.
Go for it.
All right. Alphabetical order. Yes, DayZ. I bought it on a whim because Ryan and Enrique told me that game was in a pretty good shape now. And I played it for about an hour, and then the game crashed after a myriad of bugs. And I thought, why the fuck did I bother in the first place?
Yep.
I played earlier versions of the alpha. So I was actually looking forward to having a more polished version of the alpha now. And while it does run a little better, it's still pretty terrible in pretty much all aspects that matter. It's just,
Yeah. It's, I think I said this earlier to you, but it, like in the chat, but it's definitely a game, like, it's good to play if you're a DayZ player right now. If you're not a DayZ player, no, dude.
Yeah, you should have told me that little caveat back where you told me that game was definitely worth playing now.
Yeah,
you have to think about it like an investment. Like think about the time to maturity on this like DayZ thing. Maybe you just have to. It's like an investment in the future, right? Because maybe it'll be good later.
No. You know how I see it? I enabled the developer in what they're doing right now. I just enabled them further and further. It's like it's not a good game. It's just no.
Yet it's not a good game yet. I don't know why I'm defending it. I've literally never played it.
I mean, I'm bought into it now, and the time I put into it, I mean, I'm not eligible for a refund anymore. So now I'm just hoping that it will turn out to be fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with Sam. It's definitely an investment game because nobody knows if
just
DayZ's
to be clear,
even going to pan out.
Such thing as that.
No, okay, but.
You're not going to sell it to retire on in like
but
when it's
you
finally
are getting
done.
a return.
You have to let it vest.
You're getting a return in the enjoyment.
That's true. You want to get it on the ground floor, right?
I think if any of the survival games are gonna be good, I think DayZ has the best chance. But yeah, it's not nearly close to like a release quality game.
No, it is
not at all.
Even Fallout 4 is more stable, and like
yeah.
Sorry, I'm going to start with the Fallout 4 jokes from here on out.
I'll say this though about DayZ. Like for me, at least, the experience changes dramatically when I'm playing by myself versus when I'm playing with people that I know.
Yeah, it's way better with people.
Well, and most things are. I mean, bad games can turn into fantastic games if you can play it with your buddies. But
yeah.
I'd like the games I buy to stand on their own legs when I'm playing on my own. And it did have a couple of moments why I was drawn to the DayZ mod in the first place, like the emerging gameplay you have with other players. Like one of the first players I encountered on a full server was some guy in his underwear who was yelling at me in German. So I did the right thing and I chased him around with a baseball bat until I got bored of it.
Were you able to get into any firefights or anything like that?
No. The game crashed on me before I could do anything of any substance.
Really?
Yes.
Well, there you have it.
DayZ, don't do it.
Like, I think we should all get together and do like a DayZ session together. Because I mean, even when you first load up the game, like the fact that everybody spawns in a different area, that alone gets you like your first kind of meta goal to achieve in the game, like trying to reach each other.
Yes, Sam, you got to see this as an investment. Getting on the ground floor.
Pretty good, Sam.
Go on, tell me more. I'm interested now.
He's got an insider tip. I mean, you just got to let it vest for a few years.
The ground floor may look like a wreck, but a coat of paint will fix everything right up. Might be right up your alley.
DayZ has good bones, is what you're saying.
I mean, you like playing games that are nigh on unplayable, so DayZ should be right up your street.
I don't know how to. That's sort of fair. All right, alphabetical order. What's next? What's after the letter D?
No, we're still on the D's. This D is a better survival game, and that is Dying Light. I bought that one on a whim. There's actually a video on the YouTube channel right now. By the time you're hearing this, it'll probably be Wednesday or later. And on Monday of this week, I uploaded a video to the YouTube channel talking about Dying Light and why I think that game does survival really, really well. So without spoiling that video too much, Dying Light was a refreshing and pretty polished take on zombie survival. It's a huge city. The game does tension like no other game I have played in a very, very long time. And it feels like a mixture between Mirror's Edge and Techland's previous game, Dead Island. And it does it all pretty well. The story is extremely forgettable. I have no idea why I'm in that city. I'm no idea who all these people are and I'm talking to. And honestly, I don't give a fuck because it's quite cool to just run around the city from rooftop to rooftop and doing hit and run things to get the stuff that you need and want, and, supplies and crafting materials and stuff. And it's cool. Like the sense of urgency that the game instills in you and the sense of dread that the whole city just breathes makes it a very, very enjoyable and pretty special experience, actually, that I just did not see coming, especially because I don't like horror. I don't like horror at all, to be honest. So yeah, that was a pretty cool game. I don't know if any of you have played it, but if you didn't,
it's not bad. But I wouldn't. I disagree in it being a good survival game. It's definitely it's a fun action game, and it leans more towards Mirror's Edge for me than it does any kind of survival. The only time I think I'd felt like that tension survival is when you're forced to go out at night, because I think the dynamic of the game changes completely at that point. But
the nights are fucking terrifying.
The nights are like give you PTSD. I mean, they're horrifying. But during the day, the game just creates this really fun atmosphere where like there is a little bit of danger if you happen to land on the wrong area. But for the most part, as long as you're kind of like going around parkouring through the city, you pretty much you're not in any danger.
Dude, the hairs on the back of my neck just stood up every time I accidentally fell down to street level. I thought that was great.
Yeah, but I mean, how long does that actually last?
Those zombies are everywhere. Every time. It happens every time. But I have to admit, I am a fucking coward. I really am.
No, but I mean, the game, I will say this, like the game from a mechanical standpoint, it is very sound and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. Like
is there big expansion?
Was that?
Is there big expansion out yet? Weren't they coming out with some sort of new?
There is. I don't think it's out yet, but there is one that's supposed to include like outdoor driving and stuff.
Yeah, a definitive edition with better graphics and refined mechanics and stuff and more skill trees and stuff. That's coming out soon-ish. I may buy the upgrade because I like the game and I want to support the developer for doing this because it's a ton better than Dead Island was.
I was looking at that video; it seemed cool, and then I saw the stuff about the upgrade stuff, and I think I might just wait. Maybe I'm not sure.
Why?
I don't know. It just seemed cool. I mean, like, if you buy it now, I guess you'd have to buy the season pass anyway, right?
No, not if you buy the definitive one. I think that one includes everything.
Now's the time. One more day on the Steam sale, maybe.
Yeah, what have you got to lose,
Aside from money.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on here. I played a bit of Endless Legend, which is still fun. I think I've talked about that game on a podcast before. It's a 4X game set in a sort of fantasy / cyberpunk-y type world thing. Like, the lore is very interesting, and it looks great. The sort of tilt-shifted sort of look you get that makes everything look really small and stuff. That's really fun. Also played a bit of Endless Space by the same developer. Did not like that. It just didn't feel... What?
And oh no, you already went through the D, so you're not going to say Dungeon of the Endless, are you?
No.
Oh, that's a shame. That's the same guys.
Yeah, I wasn't too impressed by Endless Space, to be honest. Just didn't really feel all that great, especially compared to Endless Legend, which just works out of the box and is very logical and stuff.
Can you run me through what the just when you're doing combat in Endless Legend, what is it like? Is it like Civ, where your units just meet, or is it like an actual battlefield?
It's kind of like Civ.
You meet, and then you get transported to a battlefield where you can use a set of moves to attack the enemy or position your units in different places and stuff. It's more like a turn-based battle than anything else. So it's different from Civ.
Yeah, it's weird because it starts off like the same kind of map layout as Civ, but then you go into a separate screen for the battle itself that takes into account things like height advantages and like different like terrain. So it almost goes from Civ to what's the last game? I guess almost like was it Battle for Middle Earth?
Age of Wonders 3?
Yeah, okay, yeah.
No, it's not Battle for Middle Earth. That was RTS.
Yeah, Age of Wonders 3 because you get like those little bonuses and it's a very cinematic feel to it as well.
Yeah. I think it's pretty close to that one. Yeah, it's a pretty good game. I can also recommend that one.
Anyway, in Dungeon of the Endless, you should also try. That game is it's the same guys.
That's the space one, right?
I'll give it a go soonish.
Yeah, it's sort of like a roguelike-y kind of thing. You control about 2 or 3 characters working your way through the levels of the. I guess it's very spacey. But it's pretty cool.
I'll have a look at that soon. Middle Earth, Shadow of Mordor. Also bought that during the sale.
I forgot I have that, and I didn't play it. Dang it.
Dude, seriously?
I totally forgot that I downloaded it.
Oh, dude, it's a really, really cool game. I had it on the PlayStation 4 when it first came out, and then I sold it back so I could buy Destiny.
Dude, that game was fun as hell.
Good choice that was. That game is still fun as hell, and the edition that was on sale on Steam included all the DLC as well, so the Bright Lord and Lord of the Hunt was included in that as well. And that game is just so much fun. It's just great to fight against all the orc captains and the war chiefs and stuff. And the amount of lines that they recorded for the orcs is just staggering.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, they remember previous fights. They remember wounds you've inflicted on them. They remember killing you and stuff. So you sort of build your legend as the game goes on. And after a certain point, if you can't kill a specific orc, they'll get stronger and stronger and stronger. You start to have like a personal vendetta with that character.
Dude, that nemesis system was neat. I remember playing that game, and there was one orc. It was like Rottooth the Unclean or something like that. And this fucker had like a bonus to melee and poison, to range and poison. And he had this really annoying tendency that he would wait until I was in the middle of a boss fight, and he would just come out, and I would get sniped in one shot. And as I keel over, I see off in the distance, he's just kind of like laughing and walking away.
Yeah, those are the worst. Especially how they free roam like throughout the world. So you're trying to do something else, and then they just come up out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's like they're stalking you.
Sometimes there's several of them. Yeah, sometimes there's even several of them in the same place. So you find one captain, and then a different captain comes up, and then another captain shows up. And
however, that's awesome. It's all worth it because you can. One of my favorite things to do was like because you know how the captains usually like the warlords will have their captain bodyguards. You can track down the individual bodyguards, mind control them, and then have them be like sleeper agents. So when you fight the actual boss, you can just turn them all on him.
Yeah, that game's just awesome. It's really good. I mean, it's not doing the canon any favors by existing, but who cares?
Who cares, man? Like, you can raise your fist and kill like 100 orcs. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Who cares about the cannon at that point?
I forgot about that. You can like detonate their heads. You're right.
Yeah, dude.
Such a fun game. There was one war chief who was invulnerable to stealth. He was invulnerable to range attacks, and he was invulnerable to combat finishes. How the fuck do you kill something that can literally not be killed? He wasn't afraid of anything either. And all the things that you usually use to scare other war chiefs and other captains just enraged that motherfucker. I've been trying to kill that dude for like a week.
Should definitely give them props too for making the sort of run around and collect stuff actually pretty decent.
Yeah, like, there's a lot of understanding.
There. Yeah, understanding the stuff that can be frustrating about finding all these plants and stuff, and just sort of saying, all right, we're just going to tell you when you're near something, and then you can either go get it or not. I thought that was pretty good.
The game also did a really good job of just like having like that subtle motivation to get the players to go out and explore the world. Because I remember Chris was talking about like that, that boss that you can't kill. When you get to that point when you fight those bosses that are invulnerable, you actually get that urge to track down the subordinates and do like the mind control mojo on them, so you can see if they have any kind of weaknesses. So it actually encourages you to go out and do like those exploratory side missions.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really cool game, and a game that it got released to critical acclaim, and the public seemed to love it. But that game sort of faded from memory pretty quickly after it got released, which I find a bit of a shame because it's really, really good.
And even outside of that, it was doing new, like, brand new stuff with the Nemesis system. Like, that came out of nowhere, and it was, like, insane to see that.
Yeah.
And like, I'm sure we're going to see it more, but...
I'm not sure about that. I mean, that game is what now, a year and a half or 2 years old at this point, and I've heard no other developer say that they've adopted that system, which is a shame because it's such a fantastic system that sort of forces emergent gameplay. I know that's paradoxical, like forcing something that's organic, but you know what I mean.
I was kind of hoping that the Nemesis system would do for that kind of game what Arkham Asylum's combat did for open world games in general.
Yeah. Maybe in the future. I really hope that the game was a financial success and they make a Shadow of Mordor 2 or just a Middle-earth game in that same vein, because I think that there's a lot there. And, they show that they have a complete disregard for the story anyway, so they can do whatever the hell they like with that world. Which is a good thing. And I say that as a fan of Tolkien's work.
I believe you. I don't know anything about that stuff. I don't remember any of that stuff either, except for the ghost guy with the hammer.
I would love to see that kind of like Nemesis system in like a Metal Gear game.
Or anything with factions. Yeah. Can you imagine? Like, it'd be incredible.
Right? Yeah, there's so much that the games industry could use. Maybe in the future. I sincerely hope so, because it's pretty great. Okay, second to last game. We're nearly there. I got this one from Sam, Ori and the Blind Forest. Have not played an awful lot of it. What I played, I wasn't really impressed by the gameplay itself, but it's so endearing. It's beautiful. The entire game is hand-painted. Not just the assets, the entire game. All the stages and stuff, everything's hand-painted. And the prologue of that game had me in tears near the end of it. I think it's a pretty big compliment to that developer that they can make you care about the characters about 3 minutes after you first see them. That is just fantastic. And the soundtrack's great. And I want to see where that game goes. I want to see where the story goes. And even though I don't really enjoy playing the game, because I don't really like Metroidvania-style games, I guess, I still want to see it through, because there's just so much love that went into making this game. And I don't want to see that go to waste, really.
I haven't played it either. I just got it for you as a Christmas present.
But I really recommend it.
I do want to get to it at some point.
It looks good, though. I mean, that's been a game I've been keeping my eye on for a while now, and it looks good. I just can't pull the trigger.
It looks amazing. It looks even better in motion, man. And then when you hear the music with it, it's just it is unique in the way that it's presented. Gameplay-wise, it's not, but the presentation is unique, and just the eye-popping visuals are just fantastic to look at.
From what I've heard, it's a pretty difficult game, too.
Yeah, it is quite punishing.
So that's also a rare combination to like put the like effort into the like set pieces and art style and the evocative emotional stuff, but still have a game be really difficult. Those two things don't often overlap.
Yeah, it's very punishing. Like at some point, I even felt like I was playing a very pretty Pixar-like version of Super Meat Boy. So,
that image.
Make of that what you will. Okay, the last one is Thief, the new version of Thief. Also, did not play an awful lot of that because I also jumped into Elite Dangerous a bit more. But we've talked about that game at length, so I'm not going to do it now. Thief is all right. I've never played the original game, so I've nothing to compare it to, so I can't tell you if it's a terrible spiritual successor to the original games or not. But it's all right. I like sneaking around. The visual style is pretty cool. I still don't really like. I don't like it when a game is obviously meant to look Victorian England, like, you know what I mean? And then everybody talking in American accents. I don't like that. But that's so far that's the biggest complaint I have about the game. So
why not?
Thematically, it's not correct. It's just not correct. I will not stand for this. I think that about wraps me up. I guess depth and some Deus Ex Human Revolution, some GTA 5, played some of The Long Dark, and Grit 2. Good haul this year.
How's The Long Dark coming? Because I bought that game and I refunded it because I
actually like it a lot, but they're supposed to be releasing a story mode.
You got bored with something called The Long Dark?
Yeah, I don't know. I must have had it over summer, so I guess 6 months ago, and it just felt like, because there were really no enemies in the game at that point, so I just felt like I was walking around.
Yeah, they added wildlife.
Oh yeah, you've got animals now and
stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So here's a question for you. Do you like large open spaces set in northern Canada?
Just in general?
Yeah, that's a very specific question. Sure, I don't have anything against them, I don't think.
Well, let me tell you about the Long Dark. It's
I remember the game. I mean, it has a beautiful, visually it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I do like, I mean, I love those big open worlds, but I don't know, without other players, I don't know if it's enough. I like fighting other people.
Yeah, but it uses isolation as a game mechanic. I mean, you're supposed to feel isolated and alone. That's like part of the charm, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, in every survival game, I'm like that. Because, I mean, DayZ, I don't take a lot of joy in the solo gathering part. It's the fighting part that I like. So.
I don't take a lot of joy in DayZ, period.
It's weird that I don't enjoy the survival part of the survival.
That's all there is. That's literally all there is. I'm looking forward to the story mode update that's coming at some point, because I think that game could really need a story mode. Come again?
Oh, yeah.
Come again?
The story mode's supposed to be coming out sometime this year.
Yeah.
I didn't know it had.
Yeah, it's cool because like the story mode from the trailer they had, it's got this kind of post-apocalypse vibe where there's a reason why the guy's plane or the woman's like crashes into the middle of like the Canadian outback. There's a reason why there's all these abandoned buildings and like everything's just been kind of all left behind derelict. So there's this weird sci-fi feel to it.
That would get me to play it. Because if I have a reason for surviving, because normally my reason for surviving would be to go kill other people, but if they give me like a narrative reason to keep surviving, yeah, I'd play that.
Yeah, and from what I've seen, the voice actors for the story mode are actually pretty big names. Yeah. I think Jennifer Hale's in there somewhere. Cool. Was it Nolan North or something? I'm not sure about the male one, but I think Jennifer Hale does the voice for the female one. I might be wrong about that as well. So if I'm wrong, just don't go to the comments and tell me what a dick I am. I'm sorry. I'm just sorry. Yeah, that game it's looking better by the week, and I can't wait for a story mode because that would finish it.
Good. All right.
That was an exhaustive list, but I'm done.
Let's. All right, Enrique, did you also alphabetize your list?
I did not. I just kind of picked 3 that stuck out of my head.
All right. Well, I guess you could say them anyway. Go ahead.
Sorry to break the chain. I'll try to keep them in alphabetical order, actually. So the first one that stands out is actually, funny enough, The Long Dark. I bought that on the Steam sale, and I actually had a blast with it. One reason that I love it is because it pretty much has everything that I've been looking for in a survival game in terms of the mechanics, the tension you get, the feeling of isolation and everything.
Large empty spaces set in northern Canada.
Yeah, but I mean, I like the way it's set up though, because like with your character, heat is a resource, cold is a resource, the calories your character burns is a resource. So all these kind of things coalesce together, create this built-in game mechanic where you have to constantly be aware of yourself and your surroundings. So when you die, at least for me, I never had a moment where I die and I'm like, God, this game's bullshit. This game's frustrating. It's things that I did wrong or that I took a chance where I shouldn't have. So one time I actually died skinning a deer because I decided, you know what, whatever. Let me just, skin and take everything I can from this deer. It'll take me about 2 hours. I can do this. I wasn't paying attention to the temperature. My guy was already, I think, like suffering from hypothermia. So in those 2 hours, I ended up freezing to death because I decided to take a stupid chance. But by the same token, you can be walking out in the middle of the snow and then get caught in a blizzard, and then you have to decide, crap, do I keep venturing out and risk hypothermia? Do I backtrack? Do I try to find some place with low wind resistance and set up fire for the night? And it's really cool. And like just from a survival standpoint, all the mechanics you have to balance between hunger, between how tired you are, how thirsty you are, scavenging for food. It creates this really, really fun like survival game from a mechanics standpoint. So I had a blast with that, and I'm actually really excited for the story coming out. So I played that for a while.
Those all sound like fantastic decisions.
Yeah, dude, they were great. But let me see. Yoshi's Island I got for the Wii U, and actually that's actually a surprisingly fun title. I've been playing that co-op a lot with Candace, and it's really cool to see kind of like a throwback to those old like platformer games from the Mario days. But you could tell he took a lot of time with like I guess, focusing on the difficulty of it, because it has a really nice, steady increase in difficulty. And it also gives you a few bonuses to where you can modify it to your skill level in a way. When you're playing the game, you actually collect little badges that you can decide to buy with gems, which in order to get the gems, you actually have to collect them. You have to go out of your way to collect them in the level. So there's that little bit of like an earned reward aspect to it. But those little badges range from like giving you immunity to fire to giving you immunity from, falling into pits. You get stronger attacks and things like that. So like you can kind of like a little bit of a strategy to it. So I know we were playing one of the hidden levels that's like almost 80% of the levels like a giant pit that you have to kind of time your jumps. So obviously we said, you know what? Screw it. Let's spend 20,000 gems and buy the immunity to fall damage. That way, if we fall in a pit, no harm done. So we kind of breeze through the level that way. So it's actually a really fun experience. It doesn't feel like a little kid's game, which it kind of has that aesthetic because of the little yarn thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, dude, it's a fun game. I definitely recommend it. It's a good co-op title too.
Are you earning those like on purpose to use them? Does it take anything away if you decide that you want to use your like no fall damage stuff or anything like that?
No, it doesn't. Like you earn them as a like default because there's a couple collectibles. You have like the little. It's from the old Yoshi Island games, so you have the flowers you can collect. You have the yarn you can collect to make new Yoshis, which is just an aesthetic change. The stickers themselves you collect them by just getting those little gems hidden throughout the level, and they get awarded to you randomly as you beat levels. So you can kind of pick and choose when you want to activate them and stuff like that. So
I think that's cool. So you're earning them to use them, not like you're earning them and then going, I don't want to not be able to get gems because I decided to use.
Yeah, it's cool because they kind of just get added to a list, and then when you start a level, it'll actually bring up the little menu. It's like, hey, do you want to buy any of these badges for the level? And you can kind of decide like, not today, or like, you know what, let me take the fire immunity just in case because I don't feel like dealing through this like one of those little lava push levels. But
that sounds fun.
The only thing is it's kind of like a really fun and also like really irritating in a way. It has that same thing that Super Mario U had, where the collision detection between the characters is very, very apparent. So you can bump each other off ledges. You can accidentally eat the other Yoshi. So on the one hand, it's...
You mean one of the best parts about Super Mario U.
Well, it's funny because you can actually use it as an advantage because like there's times where like Candace and I are playing and like we're out of yarn balls and we need to reach an objective. So you can actually grab the other person, turn them into an egg, and either carry them to safety, or you can use them and launch them and kind of use strategy that way. But at the same time, you control the hell out of each other, which is what I do to her a lot, where she'll be jumping over an edge and I'll accidentally eat her. Or, like I'm out of yarn balls and I see that she's got a whole stash. So I'm like, you know what? You're not going to use those.
Wow, it's like Contra all over.
It's super fun, though. I mean, it's I don't know. It makes me miss couch co-op games a lot more.
Yeah, Super Mario U was fun that way. Four Swords was kind of that way, too, just throwing people into pits over and over
just
again.
Because you could.
Yeah, anything like that. Magica did that well, too. I think I like that element of co-op games where you can also accidentally like injure people or kill the other people because even if you're not trying to, it leads to a lot of really fun just kind of stuff. Frustrating, yes, but also fun.
Yeah,
Magica.
It creates a little chaos in it. That's one of the reasons I like the Helldivers when it came out, just because it has like that little chaos where the friendly fire is a very real danger.
See, this is what I like about Nintendo. Like, I don't have a Nintendo console and I don't really play Nintendo games, but Nintendo games are so good at getting people together and play a game together.
They are. I mean, they have amazing first-party games, and like that's what they're for. So we are also messing around with Mario Kart, and it's the same deal. You have like that fun competitive rivalry that comes out of those games.
Yeah, I commend them for that. They always seem very good about at doing that stuff.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, the aesthetic is really adorable. Like the whole woolly world, which is funny because it didn't work well for Kirby's yarn.
Yeah, Kirby.
For whatever reason, like the Kirby's yarn did the exact same thing where it was just, it was a traditional Kirby platformer with like the little aesthetic, and it didn't sell well, but Yoshi's Woolly World has done phenomenally better. So, no.
Well, Yoshi's better than Kirby.
Yeah, but I mean,
it was Epic Yarn. That's what it was.
Okay, that's not what they were. But yeah, and then finally, Xenogear Chronicle X, which it's a blast. I'm having a lot of fun, but it's a very weird game to play because I have not played a JRPG in years. So making that transition from playing Western RPGs like Fallout, Witcher 3, and then grabbing a Japanese title, you can see there's some very abrupt changes in the way they do things, which is it takes a little bit getting used to. One of the things, for example, is like the level grinding. Playing a game like Witcher, if you just do the story level missions, you're never really going to have to worry about being underleveled for a story unless it specifically makes like a huge jump, and it'll tell you. With the Japanese games, you find a lot of it like they kind of expect grinding to be part of the experience, and they do it in a way where like they don't outright tell you like, hey, you need to go and do this. Like you're supposed to figure that out on your own. So when you're cruising to the levels and you suddenly get to a level 35 enemy and you're only level 15, you're like, crap, I shouldn't be here yet. I need to go back.
Yeah,
I'm fine with that. In the first one, Xenoblade for the Wii, I ended up you walk up this like whole thing to this little park with these benches, and if you jump off, there's like a pond down there with a fish in it, and I could not kill that fish, and I spent way too long just trying to kill that fish, and I know it was because I was underleveled for it, but I just couldn't leave. And like by the time I finally killed that fish, I felt like I beat the game, and I don't actually think I played it much longer after that.
See, actually, it's funny that you say that because like that's one of the things I was noticing. Like when I was talking about the differences between like Eastern and Western philosophies and like the RPG aspect, with like Western style games, you almost always have this like immediate reward necessity for beating those bosses. Like when you run to an enemy, you have that thing in the back of your mind saying, "Oh, I'm supposed to be able to beat this. I'm going to beat this no matter what." And you'll keep trying until you finally win, because that's kind of how games are designed for the most part. You're almost never going to run to an enemy that's going to beat you unless it's for like cinematic reasons. But in Xenoblade, for example, the second you get out of it, I mean, it's very possible for you to run to like level 60, level 60 elite. And you're like, you know what? You don't have to fight this right now. And you're expected to skip bosses entirely or kind of like just run through entire areas without fighting because of the level difference. You're not supposed to sit there and try to kill that fish that's 30 levels ahead of you.
That's so hard for me. Unless it's like blatantly obvious that there's no way I'm going to be able to kill this guy, I have to stay there. Like if there's even a crack in the door, like if everything goes perfect and the RNG comes out right, I can beat this thing, I'll be there forever. I mean, like that bear in Pillars of Eternity in that cave at the beginning, you're just supposed to go to town and get more party members and come back and kill the bear, but I couldn't. I couldn't make myself do that. Like that felt like I was giving up. I was like, I'm going to beat this bear. And that bear took several hours of my life away from me, just waiting for the RNG to come out right. But goddamn it, I killed that.
No, I did the same thing because I think by that point you only have 2 people, and I killed it with 2 people. But by God, it took fucking forever.
I had my dude. I just had the one dude, and it was basically beating him was like. It was waiting for like just RNG to come out right. Like I figured out the patterns of cooldowns and like using the items that I had at the time, and I was just waiting for, the RNG to just come out right. And I couldn't. It just feels so like a defeat to walk away from that, even though when you come back it's going to be easy.
Yeah, see, and I don't know how that what that says about the amount of control that we're given in games, because like I said, for like a game like Xenogears. The way the game is set up and the enemies laid out, you're very well expected to have to skip certain enemies. Like and I guess that's kind of common for these kind of games. Like you're supposed to know going into this, oh, hey, this is a high level area. I only need to fight this one level 16 boss over there, but I need to skip these level 20, 25 guys to get there. That's okay. Whereas, a game like Witcher 3, you're kind of into this mentality where you have to kill everything you see.
Yeah, I had that. Actually, that happened to me in The Witcher 3 too. There was like an island with these like centipede, scorpion, bug-looking things.
Right.
Can't remember what they were called. But either way, I think they were way out of my depth. But once I found them, like there was enough give there that I could almost do it. And that's the biggest trap in the world for me. Like if I can almost do it, then I can probably do it. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean.
Anyway, I'm excited to play that game. 100%.
Yeah, but like I said, that was one of the things that I guess one of those little learned behaviors that I had to break coming into this game, because like I said, I'm used to jumping into, I have a party of 4. This thing's level 30, but we're all about, level 20. I think we can do this. And sometimes you can, but more often times than not, like you're going to get hammered to the ground. I think I was fighting this, it's like a weird underground turtle beetle thing. And it's like level 35. All my guys are 25. So I'm like, you know what? It's a 10 level difference, but there's 4 of us. We can do this. And we were holding our own pretty well. Like, we're going at it. I got my cooldowns timed right, and it was working out. And he does this sudden AoE, then everybody drops dead in one hit. I was like, okay, obviously not supposed to be here yet. Thanks for that. But yeah, it's really hard behavior to break, man. So, but other than that, it's super fun, and the mechanics for the scales are great. That's actually one of my favorite things, because I've been dying for a good mech game for some reason. I just got the urge to play something with mechs, and I realized there's not that many good mech games out anymore. It's not a genre you really see. I think the last really good mech game I played was probably Armored Core 4 Answer. it struck a good balance between the whole customizing your mech and going on to battles. And with Xenogears Blade Chronicles X, it's a good mech game again. Having that.
And it's such a niche genre to begin with, anyway.
It's so fantastic. I mean, the potential for the customizing and the battles and all that, dude, it's so great.
Oh yeah, definitely. Right. Like if a great and good playing mech game rears its head at some point in Western territories, I'm going to be all over that shit.
Yeah, and I kind of like how they handle it too, because the mechs are pretty overpowered to begin with when you're fighting some of the bigger enemies, just because they have a larger health pool and a larger base damage, but they give you some restrictions on how to use them. So they do have a fuel capacity. So once the fuel runs out, you're kind of SOL. So it kind of limits. It makes you be aware of when you're using it. And they have this concept called insurance for your mech. So if it ever gets destroyed, I think you're giving 2 or 3 free replacements on it. So if you make a mistake and you fall off the edge of the map, or if you pick a fight you can't win and it gets destroyed, you can go back to your hangar and it'll be fine. It'll be there. But after you use that last insurance policy on it, you actually have to go out and buy an entirely new unit, and they can get pretty prohibitively expensive.
Cool. I like that. That sounds fun.
So I mean, it's a lot of fun. So I mean, I've been kind of juggling through those. So it's been a good Christmas so far.
I will be into that game very, very shortly, and I'll tell you a story. Actually, is that it?
Yeah, that's pretty much.
I was trying to play Xenoblade Chronicles X, right? Yeah. That's what it is. XCX. It's kind of unwieldy, or it's Cross.
I think it's Cross because I think the main character, the default name is Cross.
That's a good name for a guy. I wanted to play that when I got home. I spent a lot of my vacation away back in my actual ancestral family home, and I played a lot of Staros. I can think that's how you say it. It's just ST and then the word arrows on my phone. If you have Android, check it out. It's totally free. It's only got 5,000 downloads, which is a shame. It's kind of like a single-player MOBA.
Oh.
Yeah, it's well designed. I think the guy's onto some good stuff. He's been updating it and keeping up with it, and I can tell he's working hard on it. You got about 7 classes and 3 different variations on each of those classes, and you kind of build your little base and send your dudes at the enemy base, and they send dudes at you back and forth. It's just really fun. It's simplistic but really cool. So I want to plug that. So there you go. And so I got home and I was like, yes, it is Xenoblade time. Let's make this happen. Because I was thinking about it my whole break. It's a game I want to play the most right now. And when you get in that headspace, no other game will do it.
Right.
Or at least for me, when I want to play something, I have to play that. Nothing else is going to fulfill it for me. And I did a quick Google search, and I guess I saw the game was 27 gigs, so I start clearing out space on my Wii U. I'm making decisions about what do I want to delete, what do I want to leave. Okay, I don't need this save file anymore, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then I realize even if I delete everything, I'm not going to make 27 gigs. So I need some sort of external hard drive. I go find that. I plug it in, and I go to download Xenoblade. It's 19 gigs, and I'm like, crap. Rest in peace, all my save files, because I didn't really think this one all the way through.
You're right, though, because it's 19 gigs for the first thing, but then they have, I think 26 gigs worth of patches.
Jeez. Okay, maybe that's what it is. Then maybe it wasn't.
This is what kills me about Nintendo. It became really apparent with playing the Wii again, or the Wii U, where they have these really good ideas for games, but then they have this really weird, archaic system of delivering these things. One thing that I hated was I actually left. I used to have an old Wii U, and I left it when I moved out of my parents' place for my sister. And it actually had my Nintendo ID profile on there. I cannot use my Nintendo ID profile on this system now, because if I do it, it immediately erases and takes all the data and licenses off the old machine. So it means that the Wii U I left for my sister with all the save files and games and stuff like that, she can't play anymore.
That seems counterintuitive.
It does.
And even the menu stuff is a nightmare.
Yeah.
Everything loads slow and moves slow. It's frustrating to deal with, but the games are so good that I'm willing to.
Yeah, I mean, it's something as simple as new Nintendo 3D XL. I want to get one of those eventually, but I was looking around. I'm like, oh, well, all I need to do is transfer my save data. You'd think it'd be as simple as transferring over a memory card, but the memory card is actually built into the system, so you need to unscrew the back of it to take the SD card out. And then you need to do the whole wireless data transfer to transfer your licenses over, and it's a nightmare for that. You shouldn't have to have a toolkit to transfer data.
So working through all that stuff was just kind of a nightmare, and then it ended up taking 4 hours or something to download, which is driving me crazy. There's no LAN port,
which is ridiculous. You need to buy a USB adapter for it.
Like, I could, if I wanted to play a game on Steam that was 27 gigs, I don't even leave those things installed because I can just download them and it takes like 20, 30 minutes. Or, well, that's an exaggeration, but it's not very long compared to this one. Anyway, so eventually I'm going to be able to play that game. It's all set up now. It's ready to go, and I'm excited.
Oh, I will say this, though. Read the menu. Because I think when you first load the game up, you actually have the option to read a digital game guide for it, like an instruction manual, and it's almost necessary because the game doesn't actually cover a lot of the stuff in the tutorial.
Yeah, I'll read a manual. I'm not above that. I've done that quite a few times in my career. But in all that downtime, I did get a couple Steam games in. I played Mushroom 11, which is it's kind of like a puzzle game, kind of a platformer. You have this giant green blob that looks like it's made of microchips, and when you remove sections from one side of the blob, they appear on the other side of the blob. So basically your mouse cursor becomes like this kind of eraser, and you just want to navigate through all these levels by, manipulating the size and shape of this weird blob thing.
Huh, that sounds interesting.
Oh, wow, yeah, that's, I'm looking at a video. It looks
What's it called again?
Interesting.
Mushroom 11. It is. It's artistically very interesting. It's all sort of post-apocalyptic and otherworldly in a way that's really cool. It was pretty fun to play. I thought it was really interesting. I'd like to see what they have going there. I only played through the first level. But yeah, it seems like it's got potential. If nothing else, just from like a uniqueness kind of perspective.
Mm-hmm. Gorgeous art style.
It's very unique.
And also Risk of Rain, which I've had for a while, but never had a chance to actually touch for a little bit.
Also cool art style.
I actually like Risk of Rain. I haven't played that in a while because I played it with a couple of buddies a while ago, and then they stopped playing it for whatever reason. But if you ever want to play, man, I'll jump on with you.
Okay, that game is very difficult.
It is, yes. It's the way they explain it to me is like you have to be okay with dying like 2 seconds in.
Yeah, which, I mean, that's something that I'm cool with. Those are the kind of games I like. So the time I spent with it, I actually really enjoyed, and I think it's going to be neat. But I haven't really got deep enough into that to kind of speak to the quality of it, but it seems right up there with your Spelunkies and your other sort of 2D roguelike kind of things, your Magicites, like that. I think it would slot right into that sort of pantheon. And I mean, it's been around long enough and has enough pedigree that I have no trouble saying that I'll probably enjoy it when I get back to it. But mostly I just want to play Xenoblade right now, to be honest. So I'll let you know about that next week. I'll let you know how that goes. But outside of those few things, just not too terribly many games for me over the break. But fortunately, you guys filled in all the gaps.
You can say we've been recording for 53 minutes.
Yeah. So you can definitely say that. So I guess that's it, man. It was a good break, right? Overall, yeah. I'd say so.
Yeah.
Feels good coming back fresh.
Yeah.
And all right, well let's try to get maybe a topic in or so.
Yeah, let's do that. Gee, we've really been doing this for a long time today now. We often joke before we start recording the podcast that the "What have you been playing" section is becoming longer and longer and longer. I think we've outdone ourselves this time, but then again, we've been away for 2 weeks, so this was kind of expected.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Okay. Let's talk about some stuff.
All right. Yeah. Let's do a little topic.
So I recently played Dying Light. I was actually really into how the game makes you feel tense all the time. You're always looking over your shoulder to see if there's a zombie close to you. And especially at night, everything feels tense because around every corner could potentially be your death. And I wanted to talk about the concept of tension in survival games. And I know that a couple of you play survival games as well. So I want to know, what do you think of tension in video games, and do the games that you play do tension quite well?
Well, I think in all the survival games I've played, or at least most of them, the tension comes from the loss of whatever you have, be that gear or time investment, whatever it is. I mean, I guess in DayZ, the source is you always think that there could be another player around the corner ready to take all your stuff, and you lose everything. You know, it has permadeath. And similarly in like H1Z1, in Battle Royale, you have that time investment. You just invested like half an hour trying to survive in this game and beat out everybody else. So you're constantly looking for someone to kill you, you know? So I think I think it kind of taps into something, primal in your brain, where once you get into that state where you're not necessarily afraid, but you're always on edge, that I think it just builds on itself the further you get into whatever situation
That's true. And going along with that, though, I think it can have really varying results in terms of like the experience you get out of it, because in a game like DayZ, like the tension you get from exploring and then, getting in the middle of a firefight and then getting shot by a player is, for a lot of people, it's frustration. Like after that tense moment is over, you just become frustrated and almost kind of gets this hostility towards the game.
Yeah.
Whereas in other games, like, at least for me personally, playing The Long Dark, the tension you get from venturing out in the middle of the night with, like barely anything on your person, just trying to get like somewhere to survive for the night, that tension, it helps motivate your gameplay. And when you die, you get this feeling of motivation to go, you know what? Okay, next time I'm gonna make it even further. Mm-hmm. So it's just, and I don't know if it kind of goes back to the control you have over it, because with games like Long Dark or even Dying Light, when you go out at night in there, and like most of the zombies you run into in Dying Light, when after the lights are out, it's almost instant death. And then you have like the perpetual pitch blackness where you can barely see where you're going. It creates that tension, and when you die, it's almost like a relief. Like, oh, okay, let me try this again.
Yeah.
Versus, games where, and I think it's because you have that control over it, where like you can choose to go out, you can choose to try your luck against like those elite zombies, or what are they, like the Ravagers, Reavers? What are they called?
The what? The night zombies? You mean?
Yeah.
Was it viral zombies or hostile?
Well, yeah,
something
it's something.
Like
yeah, but it almost serves as a motivator. But again, like a game like DayZ, where when you get killed by another player, it can very easily go into the realm of just frustration.
Yeah, I don't know myself included, I don't know very many people who die in DayZ and don't stop playing for a little bit after they die. Because you're mad. It's like, oh, some guy beat me, or
yeah, it's like somebody took it out of my hands. Like you're like, damn it, like I don't want to do this right now.
Yeah.
But then when you play games like, I don't know, Demon Souls, Dark Souls, something where you have control and like you die and like there's that tension right before you die, and you get defeated or whatever like that. There's something in the back of your mind that kind of it makes you rationalize it in a way that you say, you know what, it's okay, I'm gonna try again.
Yeah,
I guess like the tension isn't off-putting.
Yeah, in games like DayZ, dying always feels like the end of a chapter, basically. At least to me, when I played a decent amount of the mod. I'd play one character for hours, sometimes days, and in one instance even weeks. But when that character died, I didn't play again for about 2 or 3 days before I started a completely new one.
Yeah, that happens to me in especially DayZ. I'll play a character and then like die after 2 weeks of having that character be alive, and when you get done, it's just like, oh man, I had so much in that character, and now it kind of takes the wind out of you.
Yeah,
but I think that's necessary to create the tension. Because if you want those good tension moments, you also have to sort of drag along the baggage of building like these things that you think of as yours, so you have that endowment effect.
Right.
And then also the potential frustration of losing all those things in a way that kind of sucks.
Yeah, and it builds on itself too, because in DayZ, nobody's scared when they're 30 minutes in and they're just looting a small town. But the more and more stuff you get, you get an M4, you get all your clothes are all waterproof and all this stuff, and you find tons of ammo and stuff, and it's like the more and more you get, the more paranoid you get. Then you get a camp, and it gets to a point where it's like the tension it's always tense because you have so much to lose, and then when you finally lose it, like Enrique said, it's kind of a breath of relief because you're like, oh man, now I can go out and actually be kind of fearless,
Yeah, and it's the resolution of the tension. I think it's tied into, I guess, the build up to it. Because like you said, in DayZ, like when you do spend like those maybe 2-3 weeks with one character and you manage to amass that much, there's this really big tension that builds up from it. But like, when you die, like I said, that tension bubble pops, it's resolved, and then it goes one of two ways. Like for some people, you're like, oh man, okay, let me start from scratch and I can, play Devil May Cry and I'll be fine.
Yeah.
But then you have other people that, like they feel like that tension from everything that they lost, and it affects them in a negative way. And they're like, you know what? I don't want to go through that again.
So I think you kind of have to look at that and go like, as much as that sucks, if you can take the suck out of it, like make the acquirement and the building of the process like actually fun and engaging, to get to the tension and then lose it, but in a way that makes sense so that you're not frustrated and you don't immediately bounce off. I think that's kind of the challenge.
Yeah,
it is. But it's like you said though, like the gratification you get from that tension comes from that sense, that impact of the loss that you can have. Like the bigger potential for loss there is, the greater the tension.
You know what's interesting is you never lose. You cannot lose that tension by killing another player. You can only use it or lose it by dying yourself. Because if you kill another player, you don't know if he's by himself. You don't know if he has friends. You don't know when the next guy is going to come along. So the tension's still there for you.
Yeah, even by like resolving those micro moments of tension, it actually just increases the overall
increases
level.
it because you're like, what if another guy's here? Yeah, it's
or like, what if somebody else heard that gunshot?
Yeah,
like, what else is going to happen now?
Yep.
And that's unique to survival games because they have the longest ramp up versus consequences.
Yeah.
I think out there. I mean, outside of like roguelikes, which is what I like the most, but it could be that we like the same things just in different genres.
Yeah, that's one thing that I started liking about The Long Dark, because now that it has like the wildlife built into it, the tension is there. Like when you're holed up in a little makeshift camp and you realize, crap, I don't have any firewood. And it's below zero. I need to get some real quick. And you're out, and you hear the wolves howling. You're like, "Crap! There's wolves nearby." You have that tension. You're like, "Do I really want to like stand out here and get those 2 more pieces of firewood, or do I just want to rush back?" And and that tension buildup is really, really intense.
Can that tension sometimes sort of dissuade you from exploring all nooks and crannies in the world?
Yes.
Oh, of course.
There's been times where I've killed myself. In DayZ because it was just too much tension. I was like, I want to be able to play the game without feeling, like I have to check over my shoulder every second. But that normally comes when like I'm totally geared and I have like a really nice camp and a truck and all this stuff, and I just have so much to lose that it's almost like I don't even want to play, especially by myself. Like I'll play with other people when I have all that stuff because they can kind of back you up and regather those things for you and help you out. But if you're by yourself, you lose it and it's all gone.
Yeah, like in those moments, like Ryan said, like either you kill yourself or you gather all that stuff and you just sit in your camp and you don't venture out because you're afraid. You know what? Like the tension is not worth the loss.
Yes, yeah, it gets to a point, and I don't know how you would resolve that. I don't know how you resolve that problem, but
that does mean turning your back on a significant part of the game, really.
Yeah, it does. That's the thing. That's sort of counterintuitive. I mean, from the get-go, you know what you're getting yourself into, but then at some point you decide that you don't really want this, so you hit the reset button. Yeah.
I do that sometimes as well, but it's weird.
I mean, do you need to at that point? Like when you're fully at the top of everything, haven't you already sort of done everything? I don't know if that's true.
No, because I think in that kind of game, you're not looking for like physical in-game content like items. You're looking for situations. So
yeah,
the more extreme the situation, I mean, a one-on-one fight is going to be different than winning a one-on-one fight is going to be different than winning a 4-on-10. And you guys are the 4. That tension provides for extreme, situations which are very fulfilling in the end and they're really thrilling. But sometimes I'd say it's harder to get to that point than anything else in the game.
I got you. Yeah. At that point, you've already done it.
Yeah,
because even then, like winning those one-on-one fights, there's a stark difference between winning a one-on-one fight when you're just 30-minute fresh spawn and you have nothing but like a flashlight. And winning that one-on-one match when you're geared to the teeth and you have your M4, you have like the hiking backpack and all like the gear and everything.
Yeah.
So, what about games like Left 4 Dead? Because it's a survival game, but it's scored also, and it has an objective.
Left 4 Dead. At least when I play Left 4 Dead with my friends, we played it on realism mode, and the tension that creates is actually very fun and cathartic in a really weird masochistic kind of way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get
because like the game itself, it does have like those little visual cues to help you out. Like it'll highlight where ammunition is, where health packs are. If somebody gets taken off like by a smoker or a hunter, whatever like that, you'll see like their little silhouette highlighted, so you can always get to them. And when you have the realism mode, it takes away all those little helpful little like pop ups. So you have that tension where, like, you know, you're realizing, crap, you know, like, if somebody gets taken out, we're not going to know where they are. Like, you know, it's easier to lose, but at the same time, it's very cathartic when it happens, and, you know, it cuts that little miniature moment of chaos. But I think it's also because of the nature of the game, because it's scored, because the resets are so quick to it, that you don't feel that loss as much, I guess.
With Left 4 Dead, you don't have much of loss. I mean, you just die and you can retry again immediately. So I'm trying to figure out why that tension is there and why it's different than other games, because, I mean, the tension in Left 4 Dead is different than other shooters.
It's the same as any video game. You just don't want to lose.
It is, but I think it's just like in Left 4 Dead, it's just the way it's contained on a smaller scale. So it's intensified, but at the same time, it's also shortened because of it. Because the tension only lasts for that particular round. It's not like a game like DayZ where the tension will last the entirety of your gameplay experience. Like the tension you feel for that are just in those very specific short segmented moments. It's like when you're playing Counter-Strike, which is technically not a survival game, but you know the tension you get when you're playing a match. It doesn't carry over.
It's very much a survival game.
Yeah. Okay. So so if we're comparing Counter-Strike and Left 4 Dead, why? Like I feel different when I play Counter-Strike and when I play Left 4 Dead. When I play Left 4 Dead, it's much more of a panicky. Panicky. It's just more panicky, and Counter-Strike is much more planned out, calculated, and I never got that from Left 4 Dead. Like, I never felt like anything was calculated. I felt like at any moment, something, like a smoker could grab me, or, you know, somebody shoots a car and an alarm goes off, like that kind of thing.
Yeah. I think it's also because of the way, like, just the mechanical differences in the game. With Counter-Strike, it's a little bit more regimented in terms of how you play the game.
Yeah. It's also thematically, it's very different.
Yeah, I mean, Counter-Strike, you don't need to worry about an opposing, you know, a terrorist player grabbing you with his tongue and dragging you out in the back of, you know, a map.
Yeah.
So maybe it's the surprise.
No, that could, the surprise, the setting, the mechanics of it.
And
because I mean,
one of the things I really like about Left 4 Dead is, you know, when you know the horde is coming, you hear that noise. It gives you a moment to, like, you're like, all right, got to gear up because we're going to have to fight in like 5 seconds. And you just have like that calm before the storm where I don't really feel that in Counter-Strike. Counter-Strike's kind of like a game of basketball.
Speaking of that, one of my favorite things in Left 4 Dead, and it's a moment of tension, is right when you get to the final act and you have to set off like the, you know, rescue beacon, the radio, whatever it is. And it's scripted because you know the horde's coming the second you hit that button, but you're kind of building this tension up there. Okay, place explosives here, place this here, stock up here, ammo's here. And you're kind of like psyching yourself up and building up this tension yourselves. And then you're manually flicking the switch on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're just different. I mean, it's either different levels or it's like a different type. I mean, like how many different types of tension are there? You know, you have unease, you have wariness, you have stress, you know, it's just different environments bring out those different things like within you. I think it's all sort of a baser instinct or reaction to a situation, but it's just different setups and different levels sort of bring it in a different direction.
Yeah, but that's that's a thematic thing, isn't it? I mean, the theme and the atmosphere dictates the type of emotional response you're going to have to the situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's also like the speed of how things can happen, and there's like the type of tension that'll put you in a flow state whenever things actually start kicking off, versus like your DayZ type of tension, which is more of like an gradual and ever present sort of threat, whatever you want to call that type of stress or tension, versus like actually preparing for a situation that you know what's going to happen in some way. I would think, I haven't actually played DayZ, but I would think that if I was playing it and I had my base built up, I would be like, well, any one of 1,000 different things could happen that could ruin this for me, right? So that's not even like a tension that you can focus your brain on. But like playing Left 4 Dead, playing Counter-Strike, I sort of know in general terms what the threat's going to be, where the threat is coming from, and I can prepare myself for it. So that's probably some mark of distinction between these two types of stress or tension.
Yeah, I think you found it. At least between those two games.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I mean, there's how many thousand different types of it. Yeah. But I think that on a certain level, that stress or tension is what we come to video games for.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I think it feels good. It feels good resolving it. It feels good building up to it. It feels good learning how to go back through the same situation and lessen it on the next iteration because now I'm a little better at this thing.
Plus evoking the right type of response to the game that you're playing. Like if the game evokes a certain type of response to a situation, that can really add to the immersion as well.
Yeah, it seems to me that the especially in survival games, the difference is that they kind of give you a paranoia rather than any other kind of tension. You know, like in Left 4 Dead, I don't really feel paranoid, but in DayZ or The Long Dark, that kind of thing. Like you get paranoid because you don't, like Sam said, you don't know what the threat's going to be, and you don't know how to focus on it until it's happening, and then you have to react immediately, or the enemy's going to get an advantage.
Paranoia. Yeah, I didn't think of that. Well, I know that was what I felt when I was playing Dying Light, but I didn't really connect what I was feeling to being paranoid, as it were.
No, that's a good point. Yeah, because at least for me, like when you go out at night in Dying Light, that's almost it's a very palpable sense of paranoia. You know, you don't know what direction something's going to come from. You don't know if that next corner or like that next building you go into is going to be the last one.
So basically, I mean, there are how many, thousands and thousands of different types in tension in video games. And it's the stress that in some way makes it good. And I don't personally like games that make me penoid, but I mean, what are you going to do? It's those three combinations of factors that sort of make the whole package. You've got the ramp up, and then you have the actual moments of tension and stress, and then you have the way that those resolve. I think that those three chapters tell the whole story of stress and tension, at least in the couple of games we talked about. And that will bring us to the end of the 34th episode of the Select Characters podcast. Thank you very much for tuning in. We have one more final item of business. We need to figure out the game club for this week, and for that information, I'm going to go to Ryan.
Well, it's a long time coming for months. Counter-Strike Global Offensive is what we're going to play this week. And I challenge everyone who doesn't have a rank to get a rank, and we're going to compare at the end of the
You have no power over me.
Yeah, we are. We're going to do it.
Unranked is an automatic loss.
Yep, that's right. And also it comes with extra shame.
Extra shame.
Yeah, it's only a couple matches. It's only 10 matches. You can do it. Get that rank.
I do that in an hour.
In an hour, Chris.
Yeah, okay. I will do it. I will do it.
Good. All right. So we're going to play Counter-Strike this week. And if you have any thoughts on Counter-Strike, hit us up. That game club will be on YouTube.
Saturday.
Yep.
Yes,
and for all other communications, you can send us an email to selectcharacters@gmail.com. You can come on and check out the subreddit, reddit.com/r/selectcharacters, which is up and running. We had a good comment about the stuff we were talking about, whether games need a narrative. Guy talking about DDR and stuff like that. It was pretty good. Actually, very insightful. And let's see, there's also the Facebook, there's also the Twitter, there's the YouTube channel where we're trying to have more content coming out all the time. Ryan works hard on that. Chris is learning how to do that. So check out that stuff and reward the effort of these super cool guys over here. And I think that, iTunes? Yeah. Give us 5 stars on iTunes. That helps us out.
Yeah, it does.
Send us an email and tell us that we're worth 6 stars and iTunes doesn't have enough stars for you to properly rate us.
Change your ways, iTunes.
Yeah, all that good stuff. We're around, and other than that, we will see you next week.
Goodbye.